Most of you are in the church because your parents are in the church, and their parents were in the church. And that goes right on back to when white folks decided to share their God with you on the plantation. Your ancestors were giving Whitey too much trouble, and they had to do something. Despite all the raping, torture, and brutality, they could not conquer the African spirit. In spite of centuries of the most inhuman Holocaust in history, the African spirit kept us fighting, kept us killing them, burning down their plantations and running off whenever we could. Centuries of burning our women alive after cutting their babies from their stomachs and feeding the babies to the dogs they used to marry and live in them caves with could not destroy the African spirit. So they came up with a way to capture it. They found a way to capture what they could not kill. They gave the world's only spiritual people their fake religion made in their image. They knew they could not kill our spirit to resist, so they gave us their fake God to hold us in spiritual limbo. They knew they were not strong enough to hold us in slavery physically, especially if we held on to our gods, traditions, and cultures, so they gave us a God that would do it for them. They robbed us of our culture, broke our traditions, and sold us a religion of slavery. They put the chains on our minds before they took them off our legs. They gave us Jesus, who told you to love and forgive your enemy, endure your suffering and hardship, toiling for them because this white boy will make it up to you after they kill you. Now you tell me, what rational, sane person would accept the God of his absolute enemy? You tell me what sane person would allow his enemy to teach him to be nonviolent after his enemy has been and continues to be so violent with him? You tell me what sane person would allow his enemy to tell him everything is okay now, the war is over, race don't matter, can't we all just get along, after committing the worst genocide imaginable to hijack the world's resources and use the wealth accumulated through slavery and genocide to build an institutionalized system of total economic, political, and spiritual domination designed to exploit us into extinction, while we sit like cowards in some million-dollar churches singing "We shall overcome someday," but the Lord works in mysterious ways. Teaching someone to be nonviolent against extreme violence and to love and forgive the source of that violence is not only insane, it's suicidal. It's about as intelligent as telling your daughter to stay in an abusive relationship and try to love the man stomping her daily. It's as intelligent as trying to love cancerous cells in your body in the hope that they won't kill you. No, we were not in our right minds when we gave in to Christianity. And we will never be able to get back into our right minds as long as we cling to the spiritual chains of our enemies. We were brutally raped, murdered, separated, and tortured for centuries until most of us lost our languages, our culture, and knowledge of our gods. We were dehumanized to a degree of self-hatred that primed us for the imitation of our savage captors. He has stolen everything we had and convinced us that we never had anything. After centuries away from our homelands, outside of our culture, and with only the language of our enemies to communicate with, we finally succumbed to the insanity of Christianity. With the indomitable African spirit, even then, still fighting to make this nonsense African. No, the black church did not get us through slavery. It saved slavery. It institutionalized it. I'm amazed at the self-hatred still running rampant in the church with this current Afrocentric fad that acknowledges the African traditions that influence the black church without any efforts to complete the return to African traditions and spirituality that is normal and healthy for us. Instead, the black clergy leeches celebrate their obvious self-hatred by clinging to the gods of their masters, proudly continuing in his service, keeping the black masses sedated with promises of a pie in the sky when you die. The black church does not and will never play any part in the solution for black people. It holds us back, and by its very belief foundation, serves as an instrument of white supremacy. That's why they continue to build multi-million-dollar churches instead of multi-million-dollar production centers as their children die in the streets from lack of opportunity. Wake up, black man and woman of Afro-Rakayat. Your only chance for survival is the rejection of white foods, white culture, white religions, and most importantly, white people. And the return to the culture and real religions of your ancestors who built great civilizations before and after the white cancer-infected Mother Earth. The remains of these great civilizations that the whites to this day have been unable to duplicate serve to remind us that when we rejected the whites, their culture and religions, we held on to our land and freedom. And when we were foolish enough to allow the whites in, accepting their perverse culture and fake religions, we lost our land and freedom. No, you ain't no Christian. You're Afro-Akano, Afro-Akitni. Now take the oath, set up an ancestral shrine, and go set your land and people free.